It's a beautiful Tauranga summer morning. Bev and I are out here having a quick cup of tea while we're discussing the day. She recently bought some pot plants here and she's showing me the little intricate flowers and how they all work. Been working with her New Zealand garden book we got off our friend Linda. But the garden fence out the back here needs some upgrading. So I'll get Bev to explain what we are intending to do to that today. Bev, tell me what the plan is for this back fence here.
Well, I'm learning about this vine here. It's called Petria volubus, and it's also called the sandpaper vine because the mature leaves are very scratchy to touch. And I think the other name, tropical wisteria, probably describes it better for me. So it comes from Mexico, which of course is a lot hotter than New Zealand. So in Mexico it grows 12 meters high, but in New Zealand it doesn't, of course. It grows quite slowly or moderately, I would say. So the excitement for me was moving from the South Island, which is much colder, to Tauranga, and I wanted to try things that we couldn't necessarily grow in Hokitika. So the idea of growing a vine that really needed a warm climate, even though it would be difficult, was a challenge. And I had to protect it from the frost for the first couple of years, and it really just didn't grow much. And I had the whole of this back fence covered in frost cloth, and I think that was quite an incongruous thing to do for the neighbours. They didn't understand what I was growing under the frost cloth, and even then it didn't grow very well until I studied up the plants that were growing beneath it, and I discovered that the carnation, the dianthus, produces sort of toxins that kill microorganisms in the soil. So I ripped out the carnations and did some hot composting to make my own little zoo that would enliven the garden, and the Petria volubus, which is its name, just took off. Could have been a coincidence, but I just don't think so, because within a couple of weeks we had liftoff, you know. And now today I've discovered it's a member of the verbena family, which I think, well, I don't know how that can possibly be, but it does produce these racemes of gorgeous purple flowers, which is why I think tropical wisteria is a good name for it. So I'm quite sure that my friends in the neighbourhood do not understand the reason that I've got this frame up here, and it's not an archway to grow the vine. It's actually going to be a window, so that's a bit quirky and different. So we need to put some pipes up there, and it's not that I don't want my neighbours to see me, it's more that I want to see out rather than them seeing in, and I just thought a window would be rather sweet. Plus we can look out. It's a tribute to the softball field that beautifully looks after the park here. So we've got a window on the softball game, as Alvin's probably showing you with the camera. So this pipe here is apparently part of the design that Alvin's going to make on the fence, so that the fence is then elevated to, what height would that be, Alvin, from the ground?
Well, that's 2.8.
Yeah, and so we pulled down a fence, and then we are putting a fence back up again, but it's a green fence, and it consists of the Petria volubus growing from this position and heading that way, and growing from this position and growing that way and that way. So yeah, it's just a bit of fun.
So we're going to build a support for it. So I've got to go and get some galvanised pipe to go from here, up here a metre, across to join that one, a metre up to join that. I'll take that Waratah down, another vertical there, fourth vertical there, so there'll be a frame there. And Bev's, she got the string on and carry on here just to train those early vines until I get the permanent frame up for her. So that's our story, isn't it, Bev?
Yeah.
Let's see whether that works.
It should make a bit more sense when it's mature.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to start on another weird project.
See how.
Yesterday the Dutchman, who's my neighbour, who likes order and he likes things that are a bit different too, but he's a bit perturbed about the way that the rose has climbed for the sky, and he thinks I should probably do something about it, like cut off the tendrils or yeah, mostly cut it off. But I know that once they've reached for the sky and they haven't found any sky hooks, then they'll have to droop over again, and that's when I'll catch them and secure them down, and that will be next year's flowers on this is a white Banksia rose.
Okay. So tell me about this fence you've got here now.
Well, yes, so the fence is my opportunity, as I said, to grow tropical things. We started with passion fruit vine, and eventually that became very successful, and then I got sick of them really because they were just became so easy to grow. I wanted something that was giving me a bit more trouble, so I used the passion fruit leaves to protect the Petria volubus during the frost, and I think that probably was achieved. Passion fruit vines only last 2 or 3 years anyway. Peep into the new Tamarillo. So if you bring the camera down, Alvin, you'll be able to, oh, you're going up. So that's, the Tamarillo's got centre stage in the backyard, and that caused us to redo the whole backyard, so that was fun. So this back garden has always been the place for the swan plants and the monarch butterflies, and I was tagging them, and usually they don't look like this. They're absolutely stripped of leaves, but sadly every butterfly that comes in is accompanied by a paper wasp, and as soon as she lays her eggs and goes away, then the paper wasp comes in and eats the eggs, so they just don't have a chance. And that's why I've got so many leaves and so few butterflies. Back garden where the Tamarillo's going to have red fruit. I never usually grow red in the garden. I usually have lavender and white and pale pinks, but this is my chance to experiment with red. So we've got the red Tamarillo, and I've got a red rose growing there, so I've opened the fence to let the morning sun in, and I see I have got a couple of buds there. I think it's past its main season, but it's going to do very well in there. It gets late afternoon sun, and the stones in the yard are so hot you can't walk on them, and some of the flowers in the garden actually droop because of the heat back there. I had no idea that I had a sunny, hot garden. I've put this plant in here because it's just so ugly. I wanted to see what happened to it, and her name is Lobelia, for goodness sake. We know the blue Lobelia, but it's Lobelia Queen Victoria, and she's coming out with her bright red flower to go with the red rose. So yeah. So I'm thinking that this incongruous kind of mess that we've got here will eventually make sense, and to me it already looks good because I can see where it's going.
Do you think you can save that vine?
I think so, yeah.
It was pretty tightly twirled round, and I was very worried that it might have not come away. What do you think?
How worried were you, Alvin?
Oh, well, I'd hate to see 2 years of work go to pieces.
Oh, good.
Now, what have you done here?
Well, I've unfilled it off a narrow pipe that we had, and then we're going to put up a thicker pipe.
Right across the top, and away we go.
Well, a thicker pipe through here.
Oh, that's the fourth upright, yeah.
Yeah. and it's thicker than the one that was there, so it's gone like that, tightly strangling that pipe, and we've had to encourage it off. So because it's hot, the vine might bend a little bit more than if it was cold, I suppose.
So we've got one more post to do.
Yeah.
That's a temporary one there, but this bigger one here is going to go right across the top.
Yeah. And a new one's going to go in here.
Yeah, new vertical.
And this line has been around a skinny one, so it's like that.
Yeah.
So we've had to encourage it to go up.
So Bev's in the process of tying it up temporary while we get these rails across here.
Oh, well, I'm just trying to save the vine. They snap easy, and if we can just let it hang there while we build the frame, then we can just put it back on the frame. Right, the next job is to tie the vine back up and watch it grow. Give it a bit of water.
Yeah. So we didn't have a long enough pipe for right through the guts, but that'll do the job, won't it?
That'll be fine. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Likely that these will die back in the next frost, you know.